Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Welcome to episode 408 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, but more importantly, welcome to the official kickoff of the Raven Awards for the films released in 2022. This is actually our fifth annual Wednesday Raven Awards. It's our fifth show, which is just absolutely insane to me. I was going back through the records, as we do indeed have some record nominations this year in a couple of categories, and so we'll talk about those once we get to them. But we will be officially announcing the nominations for the Wednesday Raven Awards, or more simply put, the Raven Awards for the films released in 2022. And I'm excited. This is always a very fun time of the year for me. It's fun to be putting these things together. I was able to have some time today to put a little PowerPoint presentation together as we go through the nominations, and also a bit of a sizzle reel for some of our audio categories, including Best One-Liner / Quote, and also Best Stunt Action Sequence. So we'll probably end up getting copyright claimed on that, I'm sure. I know that we did last year during the actual awards show itself. But as everyone who has been following me for a while should know at this point in time, one of the things that I always do is I want to make it very clear. This is about saying screw you to the Oscars. That's really what started this off. I was so sick and tired of the Oscars, all of the politicking, all of the woke identitarian nonsense. Apparently, from what I saw on social media today, when the nominations came out for the Oscars, for what it's worth, people who actually care about the Oscars, the nominations came out today. I just want to make it very clear. I don't care about the Oscars anymore because they don't mean anything anymore. They honestly just don't mean a darn thing. And it's sad because there are definitely some good people still working in Hollywood today. There are definitely some people who I think are probably worthy of recognition. The problem, of course, is that the recognition that they're receiving just does not mean what it used to. And so I started the Raven Awards as a way just to have fun, for us to be able to come together as a community, as an Asgardian community. Obviously, this extends out to anyone who gets one of the ballots, anyone who gets one of the links to the ballots, to be able to vote and to nominate. And so I remember 5 years ago, it's like crazy to think that it's been as long as it has. I guess it's been technically 4 years since we were dealing with films from the previous year, which is why this is the fifth annual now. But it is, going through and actually creating the categories. That was something that we developed together here on the channel, right? We developed the category names. That was a process of getting that together. Then the actual nominations, right? Getting the actual films and people nominated is also a part of the process. And then, of course, people voting on who should actually win. And so it's gone through ebbs and flows throughout the years, and it's changed here and there. And I've tried to update and upgrade the quality as best I can as we have been going through it. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the chat, say our hellos, and then we will go through the nominations. And after we go through all of the nominations, I will then jump back into the chats and get y'all's thoughts about them. So let's go ahead and say hello to some people. Again, smash the like button, live the fire button on Odyssey, and smash the rumble button. You guys are freaking amazing. And seriously, thank you all so very much for the support. Again, 85 people. That's the most I think I've had since I started launching this, who actually put forth nominations, which is a lot more of a tedious process because you actually have to type out the names of the movies and type out the names of the people when it comes to the one-liners and the action scenes, right? To try to explain it as best as you possibly can. So again, thank you to those who did participate in the actual process itself. So we'll go ahead now and go into the chat. Remember, I do fall 20 to 30 minutes behind in the chat, and once I go into nomination mode, I will probably end up falling much further behind than that. Also, I see Tina is in the live chat. Hail to you, Tina. So Tina, if you want to hear what the nominations are today, I would welcome you to continue to listen to the stream. But of course, Tina, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. Remember that Tina cannot mod, so she is here, but she is not going to be able to mod and interact in the way that typically she would be able to, because her eyesight is still being affected, and so she cannot actually respond. And so people who are trying to tag her and trying to respond to her, just know that she cannot see and respond directly. But Tina, if you are listening, just know There are hearts and love being sent your way. But let's go ahead and say hello to some people. We got Serenity 2 Witches, what's going on? Master of Gaming in the chat. Orange Chat Reviews, what's going on, good sir? Thanks for being a member on the channel, and also for taking up some responsibilities of being a mod. I really do appreciate it. He says, the Raven Awards, always love this time of year. The nominations should be interesting. There are some pretty great nominations this year. There's some categories that I love. I just love the films that ended up getting the nod. There are a couple of categories where we nominate people, and I think that there's just a lot of fun to be had in those categories as well. And of course, just like every year, there's some categories that get so dominated by certain films that it makes it much more difficult to fill in those remaining spaces. But again, that's one of the things that just happens when you're, just having fun with your own, your own man-made awards show that we just have a lot of fun with, but it's great. Gary Banjo, it's Worthington, what's going on? Dave Mate, what's going on? Howdy to you. Nearside Cyclops, what is going on? Quote, the Raven, nevermore. Exactly. Master Gaming says, are you surprised that Top Gun Maverick is nominated for Best Picture of the Oscars? I don't care. I want to make it clear. The Oscars are meaningless. I love Top Gun Maverick. I think it's a phenomenal film. But it getting an Oscar nomination for me just doesn't matter, because the Oscars don't matter. So if you're going to try to get my opinion about nominations, about, Oscar nominations and things like that, other than just calling out Hollywood and calling out the nonsense, I'm not really going to be that excited for much that has to do with the Oscars, to be perfectly honest. Because it really, again, it means nothing. There was a time when that would have meant something. Because guess what? Yeah, that got nominated, but also Avatar. Avatar Way of Water got nominated as well. I believe Elvis even got nominated. I don't even remember, because it just, again, doesn't even matter at this point. I'd rather have fun with the Raven Awards here than, care about any of that nonsense. Bruce, what's going on? Bruce, hail to you. Thank you for being here. Laura, the Modern Major General, what's going on? Says, sorry, I have to miss the stream. Just want to say hello for everyone to have a nice stream. Oh, no. Modern Major General, missing the nominations. It's a very sad occasion. JS Pena, what is going on? Thank you for being here. Kimberly G, what is going on? There is, of course, Tina. She is doing voice to text. So again, she is not going to be able to directly respond to people, but she is putting in her text because she wants to be able to still participate and keep the mind active and everything like that. So again, if people are going to try and tag her, just know that she won't be able to necessarily see it. Then says, happy that Elvis got nominated for Best Picture. I think it's the one only movies I saw this year. I'm also happy for Austin Butler. Yeah, Austin Butler is a really great actor. He did great. I finally watched the entirety of the film. Can't say I actually liked the movie, but Austin Butler was great. I can say that much at least. Super Anime Gamer, hey, what is up, my dude? What is going on? Hail to you. Dave Mate says, did you know Natalie Portman won the Oscar for Best Actress by lying, by doing her own stunts? I don't know necessarily if that's why she won. I think there was a lot more to the performance than just that. So, have no thoughts about The Woman King being snubbed because I don't care about the Oscars and the movie sucks. Gary Banjo Sandwich, what is going on? Dan Crane, hail to you. The Bryant Barth, again, my thoughts are the Oscars still don't matter, and they continue every single year to show why they continue to not matter. Keely Chow says, hail. How is it going? Baby Thor is doing all right, and the Lady Freya is also doing well. Selection Neon says, welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyway, where everything is made up and the points don't matter, just like all the Hollywood award shows and opinions of every late-night talk show host. Exactly. And the difference is that we just have fun with it, right? We know that this award ultimately, right, is just a guy talking to the camera on the internet, and people are having fun with it. That's what this whole thing is about. That's why we've put a ton of really fun categories in when we first started this whole thing, James Gunn throws shade at Henry Cavill. What matters most is easy to work with. A lot of random questions from you tonight, good sir, Dave Mate. I'm gonna have to skip over some of them, all right? Because we're trying to stay on task here. Victor Fontaine says, hail Odin, the Raven Awards, good time. Yes, indeed. I hope that is indeed, it is indeed a fun time once we jump into the nominations, which will be in just a second. Again, Tina would love to be able to see the comments from everybody, but again, she will not be able to because she just, again, her eyesight's just not up for it at this point in time. Rob D says, hello, Odin, can't wait for the Ravens. Let's see those nominations. I'm right there with you. Shout out to the OG Valks. Absolutely, Soul Assassin. Absolutely. General Wingster says, for your whale review, in the words of the immortal Scott Steiner, he's fat. I like Top Gun 1 more than Top Gun 2. Which do you prefer? Oh, Top Gun 2, I think, is a far better film, to be perfectly honest. I think they're both great for different reasons, but I think Top Gun 2 is a just much better, more well-rounded film. Jeremiah Ferris says, hello, all I plan to get a channel membership on February 1st because I'm pretty to get it on a random day. Love your content. Well, thank you very much for that. Not sure if that was meant to say something else, but hey, glad to hear it, man. Thank you. See, Slicer Neon says, grouchy Muppet who lives in the trash can. Yeah, well, I don't care about you either. Ryan Dole says the Oscars never matter to me, probably because I'm too young, but making Jimmy Kimmel the host doesn't help. Wait a minute. Is that true? Is Jimmy Kimmel the host this year? I mean, again, that's the reason why it's just fun just to not even worry about it. That's why I do this, right? They do their nominations in the morning. I do mine in the evening. They do their award show. I do mine at the same time, and we just have fun. And while many people might want to actually listen to the crazy political speeches, and if Jimmy Kimmel's the host, all the crazy nonsense that Jimmy Kimmel is going to be spouting, all the political nonsense that he's going to be spewing, I mean, at that time and at that point, why would you even want to bother with that, you know? And it's just been going downhill every single year, you know? So it's just yet another reason to join us over here on OMB Reviews, so that way we can have a little bit of fun, and it's going to be a fun time. I'm excited. Let's see. Reaper says, unless Jennifer Lawrence is nominated and wins every Oscar at the award show, it's invalid. That's a very good point. Let's see. Tina says, so I'm going to nominate The Northman because it was the best thing I saw this year as far as Dark as a Hawk. Dark as a Hawk, but he didn't get nominated either. Well, I think, so Tina, I do think you're going to like some of the nominations this year. I think there's going to be some that you're not going to like, but I think it's a pretty good mixed bag this year. Remember, Sci-Fi says, most Oscars movies are forgettable. Meanwhile, that clip from Billy Madison talking about how everyone is dumber lives on after 30 years. That's a great point. Master Gaming says, I disliked Oscars since the 2015's Oscars So White. I preferred the Raven Awards. The Ravens have better categories, judges, movies based on its merits. Exactly. And it's something that allows people to, people say, well, it's no different than a People's Choice Award. Basically, it's like, to a point, I mean, yes, people get to vote on these things, but I do ultimately have authority, right? When we were creating the categories, there were some things where I was like, no, I really think and really want to have this kind of category. When we came up with our worst movie of the year, I wanted to make sure it had a unique name and title to it. And so that's where we got the Kathleen Kennedy Ryan Johnson Award for Excellence in Crap and World Building. I mean, I just think that it, one, rolls off the tongue very well, and also it's just a fun thing to say. Yeah. Apparently, Jimmy Kimmel is hosting. What a bore fest, apparently. Gray Wuda, what's going on? Tina then says, do you know what? I don't remember how to do cookies anymore. Wait, how do I check my cookies? Never mind. It's okay. I can't see them anyway. Jay Spenya, I know you don't care, but I wonder how they're going to top the drama from last year. You know they're going to come up with something, I'm sure. Rob D says, I think Kermit the Frog should host the Oscars. He'd have to award Miss Piggy every award. That's actually absolutely a fact. Matt R, what's going on? Gary Banjo Sandwich, like The Last of Us. Odin is a fun guy. Hail the Ravens. Thank you very much, Gary Banjo Sandwich. I appreciate that. Jeremiah Fair says, I'm too petty to get it. I'm petty on a different day. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Alrighty. So I believe that is all the comments there. Over on Rumble, Kinkin Rumsky says, Stargate SG-1 is on, but I will try to be on here as much as possible. Well, thank you very much. User 2061, he says, Hail Odin from the Rumble Wasteland. Well, again, leave a comment, of course, in the chat over there. I do try to, spread the love amongst all the chats, but let's go ahead and let's go ahead and dive into this. Let's go ahead and dive into it. It says, send before I was ready, but I have a few more doctor's appointments. Just pray that I get a clean bill on all of them so that I can get back to normal life. Amen. And Tina, just know that every person has been praying for you. We've all been praying for you, and please keep us posted. And I, again, really do appreciate the updates that you've been able to give us in the Discord. And just know that people are seeing you, are hearing you, and are wanting to respond to you and send their love. All right, let's go ahead then and dive into the nominations. All right, let's go ahead and do it. And first off, I mean, let's just go ahead and I'll pull this thing up right here. Look at that, everybody. I created a PowerPoint presentation. That's right, I created a PowerPoint presentation. Look at that beautiful raven on a cross. That's right. So the Raven Awards, the 2022 nominations, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. And this should be a fun time. So please stick around and let's have some fun. So the first category is one where there's actually a video presentation. You'll be able to listen along as well. But the first category that we are going to talk about, and we're going to go through, again, we're just going to go through all of the nominations. The first category is the best one-liner or quote of the year. And so here is the little, I guess you could say, a little sizzle reel that I created for this end. So the nominations for best one-liner / quote from the years in film, from the year in film 2022 is this.
The kind is headed for extinction.
Talk to me, Goose. Maybe so, sir. But not today.
离家让我心碎。我想告诉你，如果有来生，我还是会选择和你一起报税，开心一点。
All right, so hopefully that came through well for y'all. I got my headphones on just to make sure that the sound is okay. But anyway, for those that missed it, there are actually 2 quotes from Top Gun Maverick, and so that's why they were actually all within that first quote. So the nominees for Best One-Liner are Talk to Me, Goose, which is said by Maverick from Top Gun Maverick, I'm Vengeance, Batman from The Batman. So even though you have broken my heart yet again, I wanted to say in another life, I would have really liked to have, I don't know why why don't you show up fully? Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to that one. There it is. So even though you've broken my heart yet again, I wanted to say in another life, I would have really liked just doing laundry and taxes with you. From the character Waymond Wang from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So that's what was in the other language there. The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction. Maybe so, sir, but not today. Maverick from Top Gun Maverick. And also, they think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows. Batman from The Batman. There it is. So those were the nominations for Best One-Liner and quote, one-liner / quote of the year. So let's go ahead and keep this party going, everybody. So our first category, where we'll be using this PowerPoint. Look at this beautiful PowerPoint presentation with my beautiful yellow and stencil right here. Let's go ahead and dive into it. The nominations for the best stunt work of 2022. Great year of films with different stunt teams. Always got to show some love to always got to show some love to the stunt team and the stunt work that people do. Also, if at any point the stream gets taken down because of that first clip or because of the other clip that I'll play a little bit later on, I will still be streaming live over on Rumble and Odyssey, which are not nearly as sensitive when it comes to those kinds of things. So the nominations for best stunt work are Bullet Train, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, The Northman, RRR, and Top Gun Maverick. So congratulations to the stunt teams on Bullet Train, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, The Northman, RRR, and Top Gun and Maverick. All great stunt teams, all great stunt work done within those movies. And yeah, I was very happy to see this list overall. A lot of love being shown here to The Northman and also to RRR. RRR got shown a lot of really good love this year. Including RRR and The Northman definitely got a lot more love than I was expecting. But yeah, kudos to them. Great stunt teams, great stunt work all the way around. And so those are the nominations for best stunt work of 2022. Moving on to the next category, we have best animated feature film. So we have the Bob's Burger Movie, Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Minions, The Rise of Gru, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Not a whole lot of animated films this year, I feel. That's why Bob's Burger Movie and Dragon Ball Super actually only got in with a few votes because most people were behind Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio or Minions, one of those films. But hey, still, a lot of people, I think, are probably going to be pretty happy Again, pretty happy on all of this. So best animated feature, these are those nominations. I have seen Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and I can speak to that film being fantastic. I have not seen the rest of them, so I cannot speak to them. But the other thing I like about this is what I used to do with the Oscars when they mattered was I always try to watch all of the films that got nominated. And so I feel that might be a good thing for me to do, at least with the maybe with the positive categories, maybe not so much with the negative categories. Yeah, so I think that it might be one of my goals to watch all of the films that got nominated this year for the Ravens, in all of the positive categories. And so again, as you can see though, a lot of representation here. I heard great things about Last Wish. Never saw Minions, just never really something that appealed to me. Dragon Ball Super is one I've always wanted to go further into. The issue with that is I just feel like I need to watch the show first, and so it is what it is. And then the Bob's Burger movie, I've never seen the Bob's Burgers movies or the Bob's Burgers show, and so can't really say much more about that. But hey, those are the nominations for the best animated movie of the year. All right, our next category is one of my favorites. So this is for NPC of the year. We have that defined on the ballot, which will go live after the nominations are completed. NPC is defined as someone using no critical thoughts or reasoning skills, simply regurgitating a set of arguments and non sequiturs bequeathed to them by someone else. And this is something that we wanted more specifically for those specific NPCs within the movie industry or connected to the movie industry. But we definitely allowed for, in at least one case, allowed for this to be also inclusive of other pop culture references. All right. So the nominations for NPC of the year are Frosk of G4 fame, of former G4 fame, Grace Randolph, Jennifer Lawrence, Mark Ruffalo, and Rob Reiner. Congratulations to our nominees for NPC of the year. Interestingly enough, these are first-time nominations for all of these individuals. Grace Randolph has actually never been nominated for NPC of the year. Some people are pointing to, I see the people already excited about Jeremy. Remember that you will find out the result of that when we get to the Shill of the year category. So NPC, a little bit different, right? These are people who use no critical thought, who just put out, again, non sequiturs. And I was actually really excited to see some of the names in here, right? Mark Ruffalo, Rob Reiner especially. I was like, the Rob Reiner one, to me, I was like, that's actually really a perfect one to have in there. Because if you follow that man's Twitter, I think no better term comes to mind than NPC of the year, or just an NPC in general. So congratulations to our nominees, especially to Frosk. Anyone who watches Friday Night Tights will have a special appreciation and love for Frosk in their hearts. And then, of course, we got Grace Randolph, Jennifer Lawrence, Mark Ruffalo, and Rob Reiner. Good job, y'all, for being completely thoughtless and mindless regurgitators of information that you really have no idea what you're talking about. I love that category. It is definitely one of my favorite categories, and probably a difficult one because, yeah, how do you choose the worst of 2022? That's, I think, going to be the ultimate, frostbitten, exactly. I see that in the live chat. All right, moving on to our next category then. We have the best visual effects of 2022. All right, and the nominees are Avatar, The Way of Water, Bullet Train, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, Jurassic World Dominion, and Top Gun Maverick. Congratulations for being nominated for Best Visual Effects. Clearly, for those that think I have a bias against Avatar Way of Water, didn't stop me from keeping it from when it was voted on, and it did receive several votes for its visual effects. But yeah, all of these films have different visual effects. What was interesting to me was the Jurassic World Dominion one. And I think it ultimately came down to there were probably the people that actually took the time to fill out a ballot probably hadn't seen a lot of other films this year. And so it was kind of this default of, well, I guess I need to nominate this movie. I guess I need to put this out there because the visual effects are there a little bit. But yeah, for those that voted for it, hey, you got just enough to be able to fit the bill. And these are those films nominated for Best Visual Effects for the year. All right, our next category, moving along, is Best Cinematography. As many of you know, one of the things I care most about in film is good cinematography. It's one of the reasons why I hated the film Ambulance from this past year, because the cinematography was just absolute garbage. Yeah, so again, this is also why it's not coming from me. This is coming from the people who put a vote in. And so if there's ever a category where you're just scratching your head or you're upset about a nomination, just know, hey, if you didn't fill out a nomination form, you can do so next year to be able to put some some things in. I see Tina is heading out. Tina, if you want to hang out just to hear the nominations, again, I know that you won't be able to read them, so might be able to just listen in if you want. Of course, that's totally up to you. All right, so Best Cinematography. All right, let's go ahead. The nominations for Best Cinematography are Claudio Miranda for Top Gun Maverick, Greg Fraser for The Batman, Jaron Blaschke for The Northman. If I mispronounce these names, I apologize. Larkin Seipel for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Russell Carpenter for Avatar, The Way of Water. So, yes, a very interesting mix here. And I believe I may have missed the I on Greg's name. Apologies to Greg Fraser. But Top Gun Maverick, Batman, Northman, Everything All at Once, right? All very well shot. I guess I would say one of the objective elements of Avatar that I didn't completely hate was the cinematography of it. So I don't mind dealing with that. I don't mind that being in there. I just think that the pictures that I was able to find for these cinematographers, I think remind me at least why many of them are cinematographers and not in front of the camera. So anyway, congratulations to those nominees for Best Cinematography. Okay. Our next category, most SJW screenwriters. The way that we describe this is a person who pretends to be fighting for social justice, but in reality is consumed by or a desire for moral superiority, validation from their peers, a hatred of anyone with dissenting views, a need to destroy or disrupt anything that wasn't built for or by people that share their gender, race, sexuality, etc. So, these are our nominees for the most SJW screenwriters of the year. First, Billy Eichner and Nicholas Stoller for the film Bros. James Cameron for Avatar. Maria Bello and Dana Stevens for The Woman King. Ryan Johnson for Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. And Taika Waititi and Jennifer Caton Robinson for Thor, Love and Thunder. So congratulations to the most SJW screenwriters. I think all of these definitely fit the bill of the category, right, of people with a moral superiority complex, right? Bros was a box office flop. Avatar is Avatar. The Woman King, I think I mentioned this in some of the conversations I've had about my, I don't think I did an official review on the channel for it. But yeah, the writing is just atrocious. It's so very clear that they are trying to essentially erase history and just completely make things up, right? Just completely make things up as they go along. But great to see Ryan Johnson get put into this category. Once again, he's back. He's back, everybody. Maybe he'll win something. And glad to see that film getting nominated for here. And then also, of course, Taika Waititi. I know Steph were here right now. She would be doing her typical spelling of Taika Waititi. Great to see him nominated here for most SJW screenwriters because, let's just be honest, it is a complete mess of an actual film. All right. So let's go ahead then and move on to our next category, which is Best Director of the Year. I like to keep this one lower down on the list. It's one of those ideas and concepts of having a major category early on, as one might say. But the nominees for Best Director for film in 2022 are The Daniels from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun Maverick. Matt Reeves for The Batman. Robert Eggers for The Northman. And S.S. Rajamouli for RRR. So congratulations to the nominees here. Once again, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Top Gun Maverick. These are two films that definitely are powerhouses. These are the films that most people have seen. So it makes sense that these films got a lot of nominations this year. Batman clearly had a very strong contingency. Had a very, very strong contingency this year as well. Getting nominations, getting some votes in some key categories. Northman, of course, also has a lot of people that really appreciated that movie for it. And that was a movie I really wanted to love, but just ended up not really falling all that much in love with. And RRR, a film I actually really did enjoy, that I actually was kind of surprised has been somewhat ignored by a lot of the mainstream Hollywood types, right, when it comes to their award shows. But hey, not here for the Ravens. I would say that this is a pretty solid list overall. I mean, are there people that I would have substituted in and out? Probably. I would have voted for different people, but ultimately, I think that this is actually a really, really solid list. RRR, as I said, was a fantastic film. The Northman, there are a lot of things I really like about it. The Batman overall doesn't quite all work for me, but there's some good things in there that I love. And then, of course, as you all know, I do love Top Gun Maverick and Everything Everywhere All at Once, but a very strong category here for Best Director. All right, so before moving on to the next text category, which will be Best Breakthrough Performance, and I would say, Tina, you may want to stick around at least for that one. This is going to be after. We have another video package because the next official category is Best Fight Scene Action Sequence of 2022. So that is our next category, and I created yet another sizzle reel for that. And this is the one that very well could end up getting me dinged on YouTube. So if at any point the stream goes down, it might be for this very reason. But I try to clip things together. I try to make sure that it's clearly being used right in a way that is not trying to completely monetize. But anyway, here are the nominees for Best Fight Scene / Action Sequence of this past year. All right, so those are the nominations. Yeah, it's a difficult fight scene to see, especially at a lower resolution. Again, apologies for the lower resolution, but that was the best that I could really, collect together without any actual direct sources. But anyway, for those that missed it, the nominations for Best Fight Scene are Maverick successfully completing the training course from Top Gun Maverick, the Batmobile Penguin Chase from The Batman, the final trench run from Top Gun Maverick, the train fight from Bullet Train with the White Wolf, and the volcano fight from The Northman. So again, congratulations to all of those that were able to receive those nominations. All right, moving right along, we will now go to our next category, which is Best Breakthrough Performance of the year 2022. And we'll get ahead and get started. So the nominees for Breakthrough Performance of the year are Austin Butler in Elvis, Ke-Huy Quan in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Mia Goth in the film Pearl, Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Miles Teller in Top Gun Maverick. Congratulations to all of the nominees, and again, apologies if I mispronounced anything. Ke-Huy Quan, I think that's how his name is pronounced. This was one that I was actually really happy to see. And it was, again, something that was a very unique category with a lot of different things. Like the Mia Goth one actually was very surprising, but that one did get a little bit of love. Never saw Pearl or X. I know that Pearl was like the prequel to X, but happy to see Ke-Huy Quan in this category. Austin Butler did a fantastic job as Elvis in the film. And then seeing Miles Teller in here always makes me very happy because Miles Teller, of course, just a phenomenal actor, and I thought he did a great job in the movie. And then, of course, Michelle Yeoh is, of course, awesome in most things that she does. Everything All at Once was no exception to that very, very idea. So congratulations to all of the winning, all of the nominated persons. All right, moving on along, we have Worst Writing Story in a Film. So this is just the film that has just the worst story all around, right? What is the actual, worst story in film? The nominations are Avatar: The Way of Water, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, and Thor: Love and Thunder. So as you can see, this category dominated by Disney, very much dominated by Disney. 3 Marvel films actually included in this, with really no surprise at all. Terrible, terrible stories all around. We all know Avatar's story is bad, of course. And then Glass Onion, interestingly enough, I believe I had heard that Rian Johnson actually got nominated for a writing Oscar. So here, not so much. Instead, he got nominated for Worst Writing Story in a Film. And I think all of these films are very much deserving of their spot. Are there other films that probably could have taken the place of a couple? Absolutely. But hey, these are the ones that the people voted on. So congratulations to the worst stories of the year in film. All right, our next category is the most iconic film of the year. So this is one that I've also very much been a fan of for the Ravens, because it's not just about what your favorite movie is. It's what is a film that you think is going to stand the test of time, is going to be well remembered for years to come. And I will say, this is actually a very interesting category. There's a lot of very interesting films. Of course, ones that I like and don't, but it is, I think, interesting nonetheless. And so the nominations for most iconic film of the year are Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, RRR, and Top Gun: Maverick. So congratulations to the films involved. And even though I have a lot of issues with Avatar: Way of Water, I do think that there's elements of it that could be seen as memorable. For me, story matters more than anything else, though. So because the story is terrible, it's going to be just like the first film, very forgettable. That one's going to be very forgettable too. But RRR, I think, was an awesome one to see get some love here in this category. Top Gun: Maverick, of course, got a lot of support here as well. I was actually surprised to see there were a few nominations, right? There was a group of people supportive of The Banshees of Inisherin. And even though I'm a big fan of the film, I don't really see it necessarily as an iconic film. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once might have that ability because it's just so weird and it's just so quirky. But yeah, very, very fun category. A lot of fun nominations for most iconic film of the year. So congratulations to the films that got nominated. Moving on to our next category, we have the most pointless character in film. I bet you can find out. I bet you can tell where this is going to end up going. Let's just say this category is going to be dominated by a very specific brand. So the most pointless characters in film during the year 2022 are America Chavez from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Riri Williams from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Thor from Thor: Love and Thunder, and Valkyrie from Thor: Love and Thunder. So dominated by the MCU, dominated by Thor and also by Doctor Strange, but Black Panther also was able to get a nod there as well. So again, characters that ultimately, even Doctor Strange in his own film, ultimately ended up being a pretty worthless and pointless character. America Chavez existed solely in the film to, once again, just like all the MCU has been doing, to try to deviate, right? To try to subvert the expectations, as it were, right? People are saying, who's America Chavez? So she was essentially the leading role in the Doctor Strange movie. That's who she was. And again, pointless character. And then, of course, you had Riri in Black Panther, and then you had the Love and Thunder film. And I think Lady Thor didn't get enough, right? I think enough people were just putting their support behind the fact that Thor was really a secondary character, right? I think it was less an attack against Chris Hemsworth and more about, hey, he really wasn't a main character in his own movie, right? And then, of course, also a lot of people voted for Valkyrie because Valkyrie was ultimately, yeah, Disney is overrun with pointless characters, as we is saying over in the live chat on Odyssey. Absolutely agree with you there. But anyway, dominated by the MCU. This is one where I could see there being, not necessarily a split vote, but I could see there being a lot of different places and a lot of different people. Anyway, so sorry about that. I went the wrong way there. Okay. Oh boy, okay, so here is a category that I think a lot of people are going to be excited for. Actually, no, I may have put this one out of order. So we'll have to wait. Anyway, so this is the most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film. Not only is this movie overrated, it's terrible. So these are films that are overrated, and not only are they overrated, they're also just bad in the first place, all right? So the nominees for most critically acclaimed piece of garbage film, I just love that. It rolls off the tongue very well. The nominees are Avatar: The Way of Water, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, and The Woman King. Congratulations on being not only overrated by either critics or audiences, or both, but also for just being terrible films altogether. So, congratulations. As you can see, it's pretty interesting, right, to see Avatar get some love in some categories, but then also get a lot of hate, too. Again, these were the films that the people deemed to be not only bad garbage tier films, but also to be again receiving various critical acclaim, either from the actual critics themselves or from audiences or from both in these various circumstances. So congratulations. All right, moving now to most overrated film of the year. I think I really messed up the order here, but hey, as long as the category is not skipped altogether, I think that we'll be okay. And if it is, I will apologize and we'll make up for it, I'm sure. So for the most overrated film of the year, so again, that category deals with a film that's not only overrated, but is also just pure garbage. These are just overrated movies, so they might be garbage or they might just be overrated, right? And this is one that I actually thought was a pretty interesting category. Definitely a pretty interesting category. So the most overrated films of the year are as follows: Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it's these two categories, or rather, it's two of the films here that actually made a lot of sense to me. So for one, The Batman, right, there are people that really like The Batman, but there's also people that didn't, and again, these are films that are not just overrated by critics, but also even by audiences. And I think that there was a large portion of the audience that was very supportive of the film, but I think there were also a lot of people that just really didn't care for it all that much. Same thing with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love the movie, but there's a lot of people out there that didn't. And so just as much love as that film has been getting here at the Ravens tonight for nominations, as you can see, there are also still a decent amount of people that thought that Everything Everywhere was overrated. So again, some of the other ones not nearly as surprising, right? Avatar, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, no surprise to see those categories here. But it is, again, what it is at this point. We do have a super chat coming in. Jorge Barracuda, thank you for the $5 super chat, says America Chavez should win all categories. Queen Slay. I see what you did there. But anyway, these are the most overrated films of the year. All right, most underrated films of the year. This is also a fun one because usually films that maybe don't get people's top pick of the year, maybe their second or third pick, or maybe a film that people just honestly think, hey, I appreciated this film more than what I thought it should, and I don't think I got enough love from either critics from the box office, or either from critics or from audiences, from a box office perspective. So the most underrated films of the year are Bullet Train, The Menu, The Northman, RRR, and Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. That was definitely the one I was surprised to see. I personally liked Weird. I thought it was actually a very fun movie, and I actually agree that it's an underrated film for sure. Very happy to see The Menu get a nod here. I thought The Menu was definitely one of my top films of 2022. And also, again, a lot of love being shown to RRR. Clearly, there is a contingent of people who are very big fans of it. So, again, Bullet Train getting some love here. The Menu, The Northman as well, right? Also continuing to receive that love as well. And then RRR as well. And Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. It's just fun to see that in the midst of these other films, which are, it's in a category by itself, right? It's in a league of its own, as it were. So those were our most underrated films of the year. All right, best pointless remake, reboot, sequel, prequel. So yeah, as the name indicates, originally this was the most pointless remake, reboot. But ultimately, because definitions can sometimes be a little confusing, we decided, well, you know what? We're living in the age, really, of just non-original material. Like you know how there's the Western era of Hollywood, and then there was the gangster era. We're within like the sequel, prequel, reboot, remake era, right? Where there's just no original ideas in Hollywood anymore. And so I think that this definitely fits all of this. This is one that I could totally see us maybe coming up with a different name for, because, you know, there's probably a shorter way of coming up with the same concept and idea. But anyway, so the nominees for the best pointless. So this is, again, talking about films that we recognize are pointless because they are remakes, reboots. We also recognize that they are, again, just unoriginal in concept. But these are the best of them, right? These are the best of those, okay? So for the best pointless remakes, we have The Batman, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Prey, Scream 5, and Top Gun Maverick. So these were seen as the best. So again, this is actually not a negative category. Some people might have thought that it was. But again, it's the recognition that unoriginal concepts in Hollywood, all of these, right, are based off of previous things. Obviously, there's been a ton of Batmans, ton of Pinocchios, right? Interestingly, the two that just really surprised me were Prey and Scream 5. I was very surprised to see both of those get some support, as much support as they did. I've never been a big Scream 5 fan. And, you know, I think that ultimately is going to be probably a genre thing, right? If you're a fan of the genre, etc. Prey, right? That's one that I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's one of the best of the year. So again, this is a positive category, right? This is saying these are all reboots. These are all remakes. Remember, Top Gun Maverick is a sequel, right? It is a sequel to the original Top Gun. And so again, we are under the understanding that all of these things are essentially and mostly pointless, but these are the good ones, right? The ones that at least the people say are good. So these were the ones that ended up winning out. Congratulations. All right, and then we have the negative. What are the worst remakes? What are the worst reboots, sequels, prequels? So this is the negative category, all right? So these are the worst of them when it comes to the remakes. And the nominees are Avatar, The Way of Water, Disney's Pinocchio, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Jurassic World Dominion, and Thor, Love and Thunder. And I've not seen Disney's Pinocchio, but from what I've heard about it, sounds like it definitely deserves to be on this list, as I think all of these deserve to be on this list. Again, as far as all of these characters, all of these, all of these stories, showing that Hollywood is just out of ideas. I think that all of them really do showcase that very well, especially the MCU films on here, right? The MCU has easily been a group of films that has really struggled to come up with any original concepts. And I see a couple people mentioning Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends did get some votes, but was not enough to be able to break into the top 5 vote getters. And so, again, these are the people. These are the choices of the people. And if you were not able to vote in the nomination process, it was open for about 2-3 weeks or so, maybe even more than that. So pay attention for next year, so that way you can get your nominations in. But these are the worst of the remakes. So again, not good films. And again, also the recognition that they're not based off of, they're not original in really any capacity whatsoever. All right, the best low budget movie. All right, the best low budget movie. This is another category I really do love to see here, because this is something that doesn't get a lot of attention, and it helps to give attention to some films that maybe other people have never actually seen before. So the nominees for best low budget movie for 2022 are, I need to click on the screen, of course, The Black Phone for $17 million, Everything Everywhere All at Once for $14 million, Smile, $17 million, Terrifier 2, $250,000, and The Whale, $3 million. So for this category, it's we consider a low budget film to be a movie made for less than $30 million. Obviously, $30 million is still a lot to you and me, but for most big Hollywood films and pictures in general, being underneath that is definitely one that is, it's definitely a lot harder to make certain types of films. And so this is actually, again, a category I really love. It gives attention to films that otherwise don't get attention or as much attention. Black Phone, very happy to see that film on this list. It was a very, very strong film. I, of course, like Everything All at Once, and it was also made for a very small amount of money. Smile, also a very effective movie, a film that I thought also was very, very powerful. Again, not necessarily original in concept, but definitely freaked me out. And so, again, happy to see that a film like that was able to make this onto the list. And then Terrifier 2, I never saw the first or second one, but I remember everyone was talking about it because of just how small the budget was, right? Just how small the budget was. So, anyway, these were the movies that got the most votes, though, for Best Low-Budget Film of the Year. All right, next category is the Best Story in Film of the Year. So these are the films that we believe to have had the best overall story. So the nominees for Best Story in Film are The Batman, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Northman, RRR, and Top Gun Maverick. So again, strong support here for The Batman, getting that on here. And it's interesting, right, that The Batman's gotten some love, gotten some hate. Northman and RRR have clearly got their fans out there because they've been able to consistently get into a lot of these positive categories. And then Top Gun Maverick, of course, is one that is just continuing to dominate here. And I would say, even though I enjoy the film, I personally would not put it as far as the best story compared to these other ones. But then again, it makes sense that it would have been nominated because it's a film that most people were actually able to watch. So anyway, these were the best stories in film, according to those that put forth the nominations. Okay. And next we have Lifetime Achievement Award, Most Overlooked Person. So this is one where we do try to focus this one on that most overlooked aspect, right? There's Lifetime Achievement Awards, right, that every award show typically tries to do, but this is one where we try to find people that are overlooked, and so sometimes we get those lists, and sometimes there are people that are genuinely overlooked, and sometimes there are lists where it's people that really aren't that overlooked at all. But again, I let the people speak on this very topic, all right? And so the nominees for Lifetime Achievement Award this year, previous winners, by the way, for those wondering, previous winners included Stan Lee, Keanu Reeves, Kurt Russell, and Willem Dafoe. Those were our last winners. And the nominees for this year's awards are Angela Bassett, who was in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Ke Huy Quan, who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Nicolas Cage. Need I say any more? And Tom Cruise. So these were the people nominated. Again, some people I think aren't nearly as overlooked as others, but these were the people that people thought maybe weren't getting enough recognition. This could very well be because, again, when we say overlooked, right? What do we mean by that? It could be that they're overlooked at the box office. It could mean that they're overlooked by critics. It could mean that they're overlooked by award shows, right? And let's just be fair, right? There are definitely a couple names on here who you probably won't get a lot of attention for, who haven't gotten a lot of attention for some of the things that they have done. So again, these were the people nominated, and again, that's why I think the results of this, when we are able to announce winners, I think that's going to make things very, very interesting. But anyway, these are the nominations for Lifetime Achievement Awards. Congratulations to all of those who have been nominated. And before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and pull back up the live stream real quick because I think that my PowerPoint may have misclicked or something, because there was definitely a category that I remember making the slide for, and it didn't pop up. And I want to make sure that it gets covered. So just give me 1 second while I do that. And by the way, thank you all very much for all the love and support that I've been seeing in the chat. It's been really awesome to see. And again, this has been a ton of fun so far. Hope that you are also having a lot of fun as well. So let me try and see where this was in the list of places. Where in the world would that have gone? That's what I want to know. I am very confused because I remember working on this very thing. I'm so very confused. For those wondering, it's the Shill of the Year, Victor Fontaine. Yeah, that's the one. Because I have the nominees, but I for some reason can't find the slide for it, because I definitely made a slide for it. I just have no idea where it ended up. I don't know if it got put out of order or what. No, because those are all there. Let's see. Technical difficulties. These things happen on occasion. I don't know why it's happening here and now in such a way. Because I, again, definitely remember making it because I chose some really great pictures for it too. Well, this just makes me sad. This just makes me very, very sad. I'll have to try to find the I'll have to try and find the file for it, because I'm definitely not going to be able to make it at this point. But let me go ahead and put this back to where it was because we're getting to the top two categories here. And so, yeah, again, sorry about that, everybody. But Shill of the Year, I don't know what happened to the slide that I made, unfortunately. But I'll go ahead and announce those to everybody. So Shill of the Year. Shill of the Year, this is, by definition, we say a person engaged in covert advertising. The Shill attempts to spread buzz by personally endorsing the product in public forums with the pretense of sincerity, when in fact they are being paid for his or her services, or at least it's the perceived notion that they are being paid for their services. And so this is a fun category here. So, first off, let's go ahead and just list the nominations, all right? So the nominees for Shill of the Year are as follows. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Grace Randolph, James Cameron, Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers, and John Campea. Congratulations to the Shills of the Year. Jeremy was informed about his nomination, and he did want me to send a message to those that voted for him. He said, I just wanted to correct the record. I don't just like Avatar. He wants to say, and again, I'm quoting Jeremy here, I loved Avatar. So he's doubling down on his love of Avatar: The Way of Water. But he is officially nominated. And again, I'm so mad that the slide disappeared, because I just had I had great pictures of all the people involved. But some fun facts about this category. For John Campea, this is his 5th nomination. This is his 5th nomination. He has been nominated 5 times and has never won in this category. For Grace Randolph, this is her 3rd nomination. Never won either. And going back to the Lifetime Achievement Award, Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage have both now been nominated twice. So they've never won, but they have been nominated twice. But yeah, for Shill of the Year, John Campea, a 5-time, we can now say truly he is a perennial nomination. He's a perennial nominee. And yeah, I hunted, Rob. I hunted for it. And he can keep on looking for it, because that dude is about as clear a definition of Shill as you can get, which is why he's always nominated, but never wins. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, is John Campea. But yeah, Jeremy Geeks and Gamers, and the votes were clearly for his take on Avatar. So congratulations to everyone who got nominated in that category. And I hope to be able to find the slide at one point so I can maybe pull that up in a future stream. Okay, anyway, so let's get back to it. The final 2 categories, and then I'll jump into the chat and try and get through as many of the comments as I possibly can. So anyway, how dare you, Orange Chat? I saw that in the live chat. How dare you? All right, so this is one. This is a prestigious award here on the channel. All right, this is the Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson Award for Excellence in Crap World Building. So basically, this is our fancy name for the worst film of the year. All right, so these are, as voted on by the people, the worst films of 2022. And the nominees are Disney's Pinocchio, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Jurassic World Dominion, Morbius, and Thor Love and Thunder. Congratulations to the worst films of 2022. Some surprises on there. I bet some people were expecting to see Avatar, but Avatar actually did not get nominated here as the worst film of the year. There was, let's just say, as you can see, it's Morbid time, everybody. This is Morbius's year, I think. It's that's right. Everyone is saying it's Morbid time. Yes, indeed. But yeah, Morbius ended up getting quite a swath of recommendations that just blew any of the other ones, because there were a bunch of other ones that got a few votes here and there, which in any other category might have been enough, but no, not in this one. So these were the clear winners of being the worst of the worst. So again, congratulations to the very worst films of 2022. Disney's Pinocchio, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Jurassic World Dominion, Morbius, and Thor Love and Thunder. It's Morbid time! And with that, let's go ahead and go to the best of the year. Let's wrap up these nominations so that way I can jump into the chat and get y'all's overall thoughts. So this year, we, again, for this one, I try to... I don't try to play the same exact game as the Oscars where they're like, it could be anywhere between 1 and 10. For me, it depends on, okay, does the film actually have a fair amount of votes, right? It's not just that it has 2 votes, right? And so therefore gets in because it happens to have, 1 extra vote. So these are films that have to have at least, a few people behind them. But these are indeed the best movies of the year, according to y'all. And most of these should be of no surprise to anybody. But the nominations for Best Movie are Avatar, The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Batman, Bullet Train, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Northman, RRR, and Top Gun Maverick. Very interesting category this year. Batman, again, as I said, had a lot of love this year. Banshees of Inisherin was able to just get into this category. RRR also had a very strong fan base this year. The Northman also too. But these are the 8 movies. These are the 8 movies. Again, the 8 movies who got nominated this year for Best Movie of the Year for the Wednesday Raven Awards. So again, those are Avatar, Banshees of Inisherin, The Batman, Bullet Train, Everything Ever All at Once, The Northman, RR, Top Gun Maverick. All of these, except for Avatar Way of Water, I can say were good or okay, right? I wasn't a big fan of The Batman or The Northman, but I do understand the people that absolutely love these movies. And so congratulations to the best of 2022. And those are those nominations. So again, thank you everybody who put their nominations out there, who participated in the process. It really does mean a lot for those that did. So again, thank you so very much. With those nominations now officially out there, I will make sure to put together a list of the nominations so that way people can see them. But also, now that the nominations are officially out there, what I'm going to go ahead and do, since y'all are watching all of this, I'm going to go ahead and post a link to the ballot. So here is an early link to the ballot. So voting is now open. I'm going to post the ballot on all of the platforms. And so, again, if you wish to vote early, there is the form right there. And the one thing I will say is that for the actual ballot itself, you will notice that all of the categories have an abstain option. So if for any reason you feel like you can't pick between any of them, or you feel like you didn't see the films or enough of the films to be able to say one way or the other, there is an abstain option. So you can choose that if you do not wish to vote in a category. The only exception is the best movie of the year. The reason why is because that one we do on a ranking system. So you will be ranking them as your favorite and least favorite, right? So your favorite movie you'll mark as 1, Your second favorite is 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So 1 to 8 from best to worst. And then whichever film has the highest ranking, right, overall, has the most support overall. You could say it's kind of ranked choice voting, but I really do like that a lot because it does make sure that basically it ensures that you can't have trolls come around and do a bunch of first place, just a bunch of, random choices. Like if it was just multiple choice for one movie over the other. This one, you actually do have to go through the process of ranking them in this way. So anyway, this is, again, the way in which the nominations are going to be taken. So you have a link to the ballot. So if you feel like you are ready to fulfill that ballot, you can go ahead and do so. But obviously, that's going to be open for quite a while. The Oscars themselves aren't for a while. So, again, the actual Raven Awards ceremony, when we talk about the winners, those will be discussed and those will be read aloud on the 5th annual Raven Awards. And I believe that's going to be sometime in, February or March? Anyway, let's dive into the chat. Let's go ahead and dive into the chat for a moment because I know that was a long time, but I like to make sure that we go through them all and it feels official. It's fun. Anyway, so Jorge Barracuda, thank you so very much again for that super chat earlier on. I wanted to make sure to highlight it. Again, he said America Chavez should win all the categories. Queen slay. It was 7:41 is where as far back as I can go in the chat. So again, apologies to anyone who may have tagged me prior to that. Let's see. Forever Sci-Fi says, are you sure that wasn't supposed to be Lady Thor? I did. So I looked at the description. Some people put Lady Thor. Some people made sure to put the specificity, to specify that. But for those that just put Thor and didn't put like Mighty Thor or anything like that, again, I insinuated, or it seemed to indicate that they were talking about the actual Thor. And it makes a lot of sense too, because Thor really was pointless in his own movie, if you really think about it. So, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of people apparently voted for Thor. So the people who voted for that character are here in the chat right now. Let's see. Cthulhu, what's going on? Welcome. Gilo, what is going on? I saw that there was a little bit of fighting going on. Please don't fight, people. Anyway, Ambrose Chamberpot, what's going on? Forever Sci-Fi. This is one where I'm okay with Avatar winning. I just, was that for the worst story or forever? It's very interesting, though. Very interesting to see Avatar get not only nominated for Best Picture, but also to get nominated for some of the worst, like most critically acclaimed piece of garbage movie, right? It's just amazing to always see, because people sometimes they're like, I want to put my love for this movie, in this specific category, and for this. So it's always interesting to see. And so now that we're going to be having people who can only vote on one thing, right, and we have a set amount of nominations and nominees, it'll be very interesting to see where these things go. Let's see. JS Pena says, it's weird. I want Wakanda Forever. I watched Wakanda Forever 2 months ago, and I almost forgot it ever existed. Yeah, me too. I've watched that movie, and I have forgotten everything about it. Absolutely, for sure. Alrighty, let us see. And also too, so let's see. Gilo says, half of Odin's fan base haven't watched Avatar and are coping seething because of its success. Gilo, get out of here with that. Okay, that's like, I can understand having a differing of opinion, but bro, Avatar's story sucked. It sucked. There's nothing that you can say that's going to change that fact, that the story is not well written, that the characters are not well developed. Again, the very first 10 minutes alone, you have a character who off screen in the first film did a thing just so that they could exist. I mean, the amount of just contrivances within the first 10 minutes of the film alone are already enough to call out. But yeah, but don't try and say that it's, half of Odin's fan base is the reason why it got nominated. No, it's because a lot of people who actually did see the movie didn't like it. There are a lot of people that watched it and loved it, but guess what? Most of them would rather leave, random comments on my videos than actually go through the process of nominating the film that they claim to love so much. I even mentioned in my videos saying, hey, you're more than welcome to vote And you're more than welcome to go through the process. And if you feel like, hey, we're just going to overwhelm, Odin's Ravens with this, but clearly they care more about just posting complete and utter, trollish comments, acting in a cult-like mentality versus anything else. So yeah, I'm gonna call that out, man, because a lot of people voted for the negative categories for Avatar because they watched it and didn't like it. Are there people that may have voted for it that didn't watch it? Sure, but guess what? There are other movies that maybe you like that probably also got the same kind of treatment. So, let's just please be a little bit balanced there. It's like the whole claim about review bombing, right? Review bombing apparently can only exist in the negative, but people don't talk about the people that, will spam 5-star reviews on movies to either, quote, counter perceived review bombing or other things. So it's important for us to, again, be very, very tempered here. But anyway, yeah, I see some people saying they liked Batman in the comments. Let's see. Great Wuda tagged at 751 saying, don't forget sci-fi. Absolutely. Yeah. So I was talking, this was in reference to how there were the different eras of Hollywood. Yeah, sci-fi in the 70s for sure. The action film of the 80s, right? We're just in that era now of just unoriginal material, right? The sequel, prequel, reboot, etc. That's why it's its own category. All right. Orange Hat Reviews, thank you so very much, man, for hanging out and for modding up tonight. I really do appreciate it. And letting people have conversations. People being on behavior. Fives, what's going on? Yeah, I'm surprised Halloween Ends did not get as much hate. I think it might be because people either just forgot about it altogether, or other things. Again, I'm always willing to try to adapt and to adopt different practices for the Ravens every single year, to try to get a little bit more sophisticated with it, right? Like maybe saying, okay, maybe months in advance, get a pool of movies that are, nominated. And then from that, get people to vote on them so that we can actually get a core group of movies. And so that way maybe that we can have it make sure that those movies get a little bit more sense, But yeah, it's a system that I do the very best that I can with, because guess what? It's supposed to be fun. That's all it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. Whoever Sci-Fi says, I honestly didn't notice there was another Jurassic World movie. You didn't miss anything. I can say that much. Elizabeth Lyon says, I just watched RRR and really enjoyed it. I tried Pinocchio, couldn't get through it. Which Pinocchio? By the way, in a previous stream, I said Benicio del Toro. And I was like, when I was thinking after the fact, I was like, that's not correct. It's Guillermo del Toro. The Guillermo del Toro one or the Disney one? Because I really enjoyed the Guillermo del Toro one. I thought it was brilliant. Gus had to say the latest Jurassic was trash, worse than the one before. Have a good night. Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth Lyon said I1 is angry. Wait, what is that? I don't know what that. Yeah, man. Only $250,000. Only $250,000 for Terrifier 2. So that's why there was a group of people that liked that kind of content that gave that film some love. And yeah, I mean, I have no interest in going to watch it, but kudos to it. Orange Hat Reviews says, I think I picked Violent Night. Yeah, there were definitely some votes for Violent Night spread around, just not enough in any of the categories to push it over the edge. Elizabeth Lyons, yeah, I know a lot of people liked Violent Night. I was not a fan of it. But also, as you all know, I hate Avatar, but Avatar still got nominated for good things too. So for anyone who says, you're so blinded, biased, it's like, oh no, I just like the film, but as much as it would be amazing to be like, oh yeah, I took Avatar out of contention. That's stupid. I'm not going to do that, right? If people want to put Avatar as their favorite movie of the year, I'm going to let them put it as their favorite movie of the year. Simple as that. Favorite Sci-Fi says, I liked Top Gun, but best story. I agree. I think I mentioned that when we got to that category. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was necessarily the best story of the year over some of the others. Banshees of Inisherin, for instance, I think would have been a better one. Elizabeth Lyons was calling out some of the backbiting that was going on in the chat. It's impossible to overlook Cage. Yeah, exactly. I agree. When I got to when it was Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage, I'm like, not really overlooked. But again, it's kind of like a hybrid category because it is lifetime achievement / overlooked. So I always hope people will go for the more obscure choices, and sometimes they do. But obviously, it is also an opportunity to try to recognize people that you think because that is really where subjectivity comes into play, right? If you think that someone has been overlooked in a wide variety of ways, then I think that that leads to the the awards and the people, the ones voted in that way. Yeah, Bruce says overlooked by award show, which is why Bruce wanted to vote for Tom Cruise. Notice how Tom Cruise, again, look at how Top Gun Maverick, I think it got nominated for some things at the Oscars, but not for acting. Yeah, so I was, again, I'm so sad that that went away. I had it on my personal laptop computer, so I'm wondering if at some point I must have hit the delete button by accident, or maybe I didn't save it, or I didn't upload it complete. Because if I find it, I'll be sure to share it. See, Tina says, okay, who is the head got nominated the overall weight of Lifetime Achievement Award? All I say are blurs. I don't recognize these flowers. I hope that you're listening, Tina. That's why I try to read and explain things so that way you know what's going on. Let's see. Cage always. Oh man. Yeah, see, like what Tina says, who are all those bars that got nominated? That's why I read them. Why is Tina not listening? Anyway, yeah, people are like, Jeremy hacked you. Yeah, Jeremy did indeed get nominated. This is where people got excited for him getting nominated. Orange Chat, yeah, that was really funny. Gotta vote for Jeremy, says Kimberly G. Campy as a loser, says Forever Sci-Fi, and I refuse to make him a winner. Yeah, again, he is the perennial Shill of the year. Always nominated, but never wins. Always a bridesmaid, never the bride. So great. Yeah, Brie Larson. I forgot what year she won, but yeah, she was kind of quiet this year. Jeremiah Ferris says Top Gun Maverick is getting almost all my votes because it's so good. It is. It really is great. Yeah, everyone was excited when Morbius got nominated for Worst Picture. It's Morbid time. Yes. Oh, man. Master of Gaming says, who got nominated for Shill of the Year? So I think I had read those out. So hopefully you were there when I got to that. All righty. Let's see. Trying to catch up with everybody. It's 8:09 in the chat. It is 8:23 in real life, so about 7 minutes left in the show. Gonna try and get through these. Mr. Peabody, what's going on, brother? He says, Batman was a great movie if you suffer from insomnia. Ooh! And then he says, only got through 15 minutes of Pinocchio. The Disney version or the Guillermo del Toro version? That's the big question. Let's see. The Morak says, great job tonight. That was a fun stream. Can't wait for the awards ceremony. Hey, Morak, thank you. Hopefully won't have those same technical issues, but you never know. Jonah Wigster says, trolls? Odin, really? Odin really doesn't trust us and discriminates us. Only you, Jonah Wigster. Rowdy says, Jeremy's bot accounts are going to spam Avatar 2 for best film of the year and himself winning Shill of the year. Probably. But again, that's the reason why it is, that's why I have it set up the way that I do. Is because, again, enough people, if enough people give first, second, third place votes, to whatever movies they want to give to, right, those will ultimately get a lot more love. Hardwick says, I suggest changing the name of the excellent scrap world building category. It's confusing because it sounds like specifically for bad world building rather than worst movie. But that's why I explain it every year too. And that's one where I don't think I'm ever going to change it, just because it's kind of like, it's history. It's a part of the history of the channel. It's a part of the history of the awards. There's other ones that I think could probably be given a name like it. That would be better. Like, for instance, the remake reboot category. It says, that's why I nominate Jurassic World Dominion for that category. It's terrible world building. I didn't realize the category is for worst movie. Well, it is one of the worst films, so that would be correct. Let's see. Tina said, best of the year, The Northman, Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan, Godfather. So the only one that actually came out this year would have been The Northman. So no, it's all good. It's all good as long as again, fruitful conversations. Jeremy is getting my vote. Oh man, it's all good. Jazz Penny, just another red shirt. What is going on? Hail to you. Reaper says, if Frost wins the award, we need Chrissy Mayer to accept it as Frost. That'd be great. Same also with Jeremy. That'd be really fun to get him in. Bruce is already done with his ballot. Dang, that was fast. Saw a few people posting that they were done with it on a couple things. We apparently voted over on Odyssey. Okay, over on Rumble. What's going on? Mr. Roy says, Mr. Roy 35 says, good nominations, good night. Hey, thank you very much for hanging out over there. King Kane Rumsky had tagged a couple times and said, being a Raven Awards newbie, can I still vote if I haven't watched any movies during a given year? So you can still vote. There is a abstain category. If you feel like you really can't make a decision because you haven't seen the films nominated or anything like that, there is an abstain for each category as well. The only one that there isn't is for the ranking of the films. And I would just say take it as an opportunity where you don't have to vote tonight because you're going to have, probably a good month or so to actually vote. But I would say try and watch some of the films, at least in the positive categories. He then had to say, nice job on Raven Awards. Yeah, absolutely. The nominations I thought were very good this year for the most part. There's always weird ones here and there, but it's a lot of fun. Forever Sci-Fi says, my vote for Jeremy is in. His award should be a bust of Campia. Oh, that would be brilliant. That'd be great. Jeremiah Fair, I think the budget for the Oscars was taken and given to your show. Great job, and thank you for the great content. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely have some things to go, but, things to improve upon. But Harwick, do you plan to review All Quiet on the Western Front? I don't know if I'll review it, but I definitely want to watch it because it's been getting a lot of attention. Jeremiah Fair says, Morbin time. Woo! Cthulhu says, Elvis deserves more, but respect to OMB voters. Again, I humbly disagree, Cthulhu. I think that the voters were right to not praise that one. In fact, I'm actually surprised it didn't get more negative because the movie's called Elvis, and yet the movie isn't really about him at all. Elvis is a secondary character in a film with his name. And even though Austin Butler is phenomenal in the role, Tom Hanks is not. Tom Hanks eats up the scenery in everything, in every scene. He overacts to such an annoying degree. And then the Bars Luhrmann, psychedelic, weird sequences just take you out of it. And it's just, again, I think it's not one of the worst films of the year by any means, but it's hard for me to say it's one of the best either. As great, again, I think some people might, I'm not saying that anyone is, but I think some people might be taking the performance from Austin Butler and letting the amazing performance he gives kind of give a lift to some of the other areas of the film that aren't necessarily as strong or as good. Orange says, very welcome, Odin. People know I run a reasonable ship as a mod, but don't take it for granted, folks. Absolutely. Tina, I was reading them. That's why I was doing it. Does she not? I mean, I can't type anything to her because I know she's not great, but do you not listen? That hurts me. It hurts my feelings. I've been trying to read things and read comments and everything. The Morak says, it'd be amazing if we could get even a mini sci-fi or action hero era. We need movies from these genres. Yeah, I mean, I think you might at some point see a revival of an older genre. Like you might see the revival of a Western or something like that. But yeah, I don't know what the next major one would be, to be honest. There's just so many, there's just so few ideas. Jess Penny says, I still can't believe Austin Butler, an actor I'm familiar with from a kid's movie, would play Elvis. Yeah, and he did such a great job with it too. So I was very happy to see him get breakout performance of the year. Again, very, very great to see him get, performance of the year, breakout performance of the year. I thought that he definitely deserved that at the very least. Super says, it's not just movies. We're just in an era of forgettable art and media, and it's sad. I hope Tarantino is right and the pendulum swings back soon. I hope so too, for sure. But yeah, it's definitely hitting all things. Bruce, who's a member, says, hard for me to even notice the chat unless I see a highlighted Bruce. Yeah, same. Morak says, any chance RR is released on Blu-ray 4K? I hope it is. I really do hope it is, because I would love to get it. And also I would love to find out why they're the vocals, why the audio for the movie is trash. I love the film. I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun, but the audio is trash. Like, everything sounds ADR'd. Everything sounds like it was recorded after the fact. Maybe it was, but yeah. Jeremy Fire says, I think last year, quality-wise, was a horrible year for movies. I again, agree and disagree. I think there were some really good things, but ultimately, for sci-fi, I voted for Brendan. He made fun of himself in the Looney Tunes movie with Steve Martin, while Steve Martin chewed scenery. Oh, yeah. Super Anime Gamer says, my logic was, yes, Nick Cage is popular, but I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. He's more than a meme. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if anyone didn't watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I think you missed something really special. Tina says, I'm not listening because I'm trying to squint my eyes to read if I can, and I can't read anyway, but I finally saw the way, or if there's any integrity. But that's just the thing. Like, if it can't read, then don't just, because I'm reading them. I was reading them all. Bruce says, Jeremy paid me. I voted for him. Let's see. Favorite Sci-Fi says, if Avatar wins for overrated, will Jeremy accept on its behalf? Maybe he should. Let's see. Hamilton Burger says, many of my nominees didn't get picked. Please announce the launch of the Wednesday Raven Squared Awards for those of us who boycott the Wednesday Raven Awards. Oh, come on now. Let's not do that. Let's see. It got some. It was getting some attention behind the scenes, but I don't remember if it got nominated for the Ravens. Let's see. Jeremiah Fair says, James Cameron will have 3 out of the 4 highest grossing movies of all time without inflation. His ability to get giant CGI sludge to make money should not be overlooked. Well, without inflation, I'll have to look at those numbers again, because you do realize that there's a lot of other films from older generations that, when you do adjust for inflation, are very high. So I would, regardless of any of that, he does make movies that make a lot of money, but we also have to recognize where those films tend to make money. And I think it also, like, the kind of movies that he's making, right? I don't think he's good for cinema. I don't think he's good for cinema at all. Just look at what happened after the first Avatar film. What happened? I would say the quality of the big budget films didn't get any better. If at all, it got worse. And then you had a bunch of these studios that were starting to post-convert all of their films to 3D because they thought that was going to be the trend. What do you think is going to happen now that this film is making a lot of money? It's getting Oscars contention again. It's just going to be another really, really bad move, I think. Perfect Sci-Fi. Maybe we can chip in for a Campia mug and then paint it gold. That'd be cool. Howard says, to me, Elvis was still the lead in Elvis. It's about 70% Elvis, 30% Colonel Parker. It was very accurate and too rushed, though. And I would disagree. I would say, if anything, it was like 50-50. And even then, it's like, even if you're willing to give 50-50 or even 60-40, it's like, if it's called Elvis, it should be 90-10. J.S. Pena, I agree. The modern covers of Elvis' songs did take me out of it. Yeah. Bruce says, plenty of good sci-fi books to pick from movies these days. Let's see. Jeremiah's Fair says, did you see the M&M stuff to all the woke companies? Go woke, go broke, Disney. Yeah, seriously. Have Jeremy and Chrissy Frost do a video just in case. Yeah, I probably will try to see. Again, well, the issue is, of course, they have to actually win first. There's no guarantee of them winning. But you never know. Harvick says, Brendan Fraser said that he made fun of himself for so much in Looney Tunes movie because he was feeling insecure and felt like it didn't mock himself first. Someone else would do it. Yeah, it is interesting. Tina, go take care of yourself. Absolutely, Tina. Again, thank you for being here. And again, I only was mentioning that because I've been, I always try, because I know that sometimes you are listening. I try to read the chat so that way you can hear what the people say, especially when they're like sending love and sending hearts and things like that, and everything else too. So again, thank you for being here. And again, all of us here are praying for you to heal. Wee says you have to send Tina the link to vote in an email and enlarge the link multiple times so she can properly see and click on it. # hugs for Tina. Absolutely. for sure. I'll try and work on that. It makes it so harder to read because I know the voice to text is not always easy to convey what's being said. Bruce says, at least you'll have it on hand if one of them win. Forever Sci-Fi then says, it probably good. Tina didn't hear that considering her opinion of Tom Cruise. Probably. Matt R, have a great night. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And so with that, let me just double check all these other places. So yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and call it a show. Call that a wrap. So thank you everyone for partaking in this, right? For those that nominated films, I really do appreciate you all for putting those nominations out there. Obviously can't have nominees without nominations. For those that didn't nominate this year, maybe think about putting some nominations in for next year. As you can see, sometimes you just need a few votes here and there to be able to align yourself with people with similar views and similar thoughts about the films that they loved and hated. And you'll be able to get films nominated. So yeah, definitely I would say something that is a bit more, I think, a bit more realistic than anything the Oscars could ever hope to be able to pull off. And we're going to have fun with it, right? This is something that we're definitely going to have a lot of fun with. I cannot wait for the actual Ravens themselves. If people try to plan ahead for those kinds of things, let me try and look this up in real time. So the Oscars for this year are going to be March 12th. So that's when the Ravens are going to be. The Ravens will be on March 12th. They start at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll probably go from 7 to 9:30-ish, maybe 7 to 10. We will not go the full program because Lord knows we can't go that full 4+ hours, whatever nonsense they're going to be doing. But we do like to provide an alternative. And for that one, we don't just do straight nominations or just straight through the list. We do go through like a few categories at a time, then jump back into the chat and see what everyone has to say. It's a fun time just to be able to, also like dress up and, again, have fun with it. And that's what all of this is really meant to be, is something for us to be able to have fun with it. So again, thank you to everyone who was here tonight. For the love and support, please smash the like button, like the fire button, and smash the rumble button as well. And again, this has been a ton of fun, and I cannot wait to see what y'all are choosing for best and worst of the year. Lord knows it's gonna be an interesting. I think it's gonna be an interesting result. So with all that being said, thank you so very much. And again, if you wish to vote, again, the ballot is in the link that I am now posting over in the chat. So again, if you click on that link, that will bring you to the ballot, and then you can fill that out, and it should save your progress. You don't have to put an email in, but it should save your progress, and you can come back to it later on. I would say again, if you have not seen all of the things, if you've not seen all of the movies, or if there's some that you maybe need to see or haven't seen, I would recommend doing that. Again, I won't be putting my votes in until I've put those out. Do look forward to best and worst of the year though, because now that I've seen The Whale, I can finally start to put those lists together. That was the one that I thought might be able to get on my list. And with all that being said, thank you again, everyone, for Bruce. There are no voted stickers. There are no I voted stickers. But anyway, you guys are all great. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. This was a lot of fun. And I will be posting the nominations on my website. I'm going to try and create images of all of the nomination slides too. I'm going to try and find the Shill slide, and I'll post those up on social media as well, so that way people can see those, share those, and tag people in them if you want, especially for the some of the people who might appreciate it on social media. But you guys are great. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, everybody. A blessed feast of St. Timothy as well. And as always, God bless.
And And now for a huge shout out to all of my January Patreon Subscribe Star and Locals members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above. Starting off with my Patreon members, Father Luca Illich, Garrett Searles, Heimir Ari Hymason, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Orange Chat Reviews, who you can check out on his YouTube channel, Orange Chat Reviews, Rosetta Allen, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Eagle Writer, and Miss Martin Muses, who you can check out at her YouTube channel, Miss Martin Muses, and of course, the amazing Empress of the Universe, Tina B, who you can check out over on her YouTube channel, Tina B, with her show Soup to Nuts, which she does, tries to do every single week with her friend and with fellow Valkyrie and fellow mod of the channel, Stephanie B.
And also a special shout out to the Modern Major General of the channel, Laura Story. Thank you again for joining.
And of course, I do want to give a special shout out to Tina B and make sure that everyone knows that our prayers are being extended towards her as she continues to recover from complications that have occurred recently with her medically and has resulted in a loss of eyesight, or at the very least of more clear eyesight. So to continue to offer our prayers for her. Also a shout out to my Subscribe Star peeps, Matt317, who can check out on his Twitch channel by the same name, The R, Fast Reaction, Mr. Roy, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and the K-Man, who you can check out over at xtheboundaries.co. And lastly, to my Locals members, Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, J.H. Schwalbach, Brett D90, and the amazing lawyer Robert Barnes. So thank you all very much for supporting me on Local, Subscribe Star, and Patreon. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, please check out the top link in the video description below, where you get access to this, and also, of course, to a monthly podcast that I do with John the Flick Flickinger. Also, access to a giveaways channel on my Discord, where I give away films this month. I've got films like Seven Samurai on Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection to give away, The Banshees of Inisherin, Tommy Boy Steelbook, Edge of Tomorrow 4K, and tons of other 4Ks and Steelbooks as they get released over the next month will be available, and also, of course, digital codes as well. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out that top link and join over on Patreon, Subscribe Star, or on Locals. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.